Welcome to The Great Debate. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is, of course, The Great Debate Home Edition, and it is a part of our effort to stay safer at home. So we're coming to you live from all over the city. I am Erin, and I'm going to be your host this evening. Just to give you a tiny bit of background, in case you don't know, The Great Debate is a program that usually happens at Buntport Theater once a month-ish. And it consists of teams of experts going head-to-head on important topics like Bacon versus Kevin Bacon, or Area 51 versus Studio 54, or Kangaroos versus Hot Pockets. All very important topics to decide. Under normal circumstances, this very silly debate night is full of what I would consider a lot of misinformation. So tonight, let's see if we have fixed that by teaming up with the Denver Museum of Nature and Science, because we have two of the museum's amazing educators / performers here. Please welcome to your screen, if you haven't already, Jose and Mitch. Gentlemen, give everyone a wave. There they are. Now, we have dusted off an old debate from Buntport. It is pie versus pie tonight. And yes, I know that that sounds the same, but I am, of course, talking about pie, the number, 3.14159, etc., versus pie, the food, apple, cherry, chocolate cream, etc. And while I'm sure that tonight's offering will still be very silly, I have a feeling that my very science-minded debaters will also slide in the occasional fact or two. So that is very exciting for a great debate. It's rare. It's rare. We might actually learn something. We'll see. Using very persuasive and perhaps fact-ridden arguments, each debater will try to sway you, and then you will be able to vote. Now, when we do this show at the theater, we always have some credits that play at the beginning. I don't have that the credits to play for you. So tonight I am just going to sing the song, the credit song, while Jose and Mitch thrill you with their dancing. So here we go. The great debate, the great debate, mind against mind, fist against fist, except no fists, really just minds. It's the great debate, great debate. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. It's the great debate. That was clearly amazing, a real thrill. It doesn't feel weird at all for me to just be doing that alone in my living room. Now, before we begin, if you are watching live, please feel free to use the chat function to submit your opinions throughout the debates. For all I know, the debaters will be able to address some of your comments during their rebuttals. I have no idea, maybe. And now, without further ado, let's find out which one is better, a mathematical constant or a gastronomic constant. First, debating the number pi, welcome, Jose.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I will be representing the number pi this evening. Get my materials in place here. Friends, I think today we should recognize some of the achievements of one of the greatest scientific contributors of all time. Of course, I am speaking about the number pi. From humble beginnings, this simple number, which is actually really complicated, has helped lead us to some of our most astonishing and incredible discoveries, technologies, and inventions. Today, let us celebrate the life of pi. Now, I'm going to share my screen here. Give me a second, because I found some photos to help us understand pi. Here we go. These are from various archives and personal photos of pies that I have. There we go. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Yes. The number pi was born in a simple log cabin in Mesopotamia approximately 4,000 years ago. It spent its youth doing typical childhood activities like playing catch, rolling balls down hills, and, of course, chopping down trees and refusing to lie about it. I think we have an image of that right here. Yes, right there. You can see pi right there. Refusing to lie about the tree. At a young age, pi helped the Babylonians understand circles, because of course everybody knows that pi is a ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. I mean, you all do that. I knew that. Everybody knows that. This also made pi a contributor to one of the most important inventions in human history, the wheel, because wheels are circles. Pi then traveled to Egypt, where it may have helped with the construction of the pyramids. That's probably not true, but you're going to think it's true because I work for a museum and you're going to trust what I say. Pi then made its way to Greece, where it was popular with everyone from the pink ladies to famed mathematician and Merlin's pet owl, Archimedes. In fact, Archimedes would draw various polygons to calculate that pi was actually very close to 22 divided by 7. And this method of using polygons to calculate pi was used in the Western world for 1,000 years after Archimedes developed it. But pi was not only limited to the West. Oh, no, it made its way all around the world. In the East, pi was popular in India, and they spent so much time calculating it that they calculated it to 5 digits for the first time around 200 BC. That is very, very hard to do without a calculator, which they only had one to share. While in India, pi got stranded on a boat with a tiger. It was a pretty exciting time in pi's life, so exciting, in fact, that they decided to make a movie about it. I haven't seen it, but I'm told that it's filled with a lot of mathematical equations and interesting moments. Now, in the 1700s, pi revolutionized the mathematical world and demanded to be represented as a symbol and referred to as the artist formerly known as pi. Now, in our modern age, pi can be found all around the world, contributing to scientific papers, helping rocket scientists calculate the trajectories of rockets and satellites. You can find it in a tire shop selling tires. Anything where something round is happening, you know that pi is there. I first met the number pi in the 7th grade when I was taking geometry class for the first time. It was difficult for me and pi to get along in those early days, mostly because I got a C in that geometry class, and that made me very, very mad, as you can see pictured here. But pi stuck with me all the way, all through high school and even into college. As a matter of fact, I would be with pi almost every night doing homework. That is real dedication. That is real dedication right there. Now, I began to feel differently about pi when I was in college. It was my freshman year, and I was having difficulty making friends. Since I spent a lot of time alone, friendless, I decided to memorize pi to the 20th digit. I also suffered from insomnia at the time. The next day in class, I recited this to a classmate, and they were amazed. Everyone was incredibly amazed that I knew pi, almost as if I had calculated it myself instead of just memorizing what was basically the equivalent of a long phone number. And that really struck me. If I could say pi, I would be impressive. Here, take this for example. Oh, take this for example. Here we go, ready? 3.141592653589793238846. See how impressive that was? From that day on, I learned that if you say a science fact or a mathematical fact, you memorize it and say it like you actually did it or know it, people will think that you are smart. This has put me on the trajectory of my life right up until this minute. Listen, did you know that pi is an all-encompassing number? It has no end and no repeatable pattern that happens in its calculation. That means it has every possible combination of the digits 0 through 9 that can possibly exist. That means if you took these digits and turned them into letters, pi would contain the complete works of William Shakespeare, the Bible, and every tweet written in the last 10 years. It's incredible. It's incredible. We have used supercomputers to calculate pi to 22 trillion digits. If you wanted to read that out loud, it would take you 700,000 years to do so. These two things I just told you are completely useless pieces of information that will never be relevant in your life. But if you tell them to your friends, they will think you are a genius. This has worked for me. It can work for you too. I have spent the last 10 years as a science educator at a prestigious institution. I don't know anything about science. I'm not a genius. I majored in theater. That's not something that geniuses do. Still, I'm happy with my life, and I wouldn't be where I am without pie. It's been my constant companion, and I think about it every time I throw a ball with my nephew, or buy a pizza, or if I calculate the trajectory of a surface-to-air missile. Common everyday things like that, you know. Now, pie can be a little irrational. Like I said, it doesn't have any digits or patterns that emerge in its calculation. It's so irrational that I can't convince it to wear a mask to the grocery store. But despite its flaws, I enjoy the number pi, if for no other reason than that in all these wild and crazy turbulent times we are dealing with, when just like it seems things can't get any worse or things will be completely unpredictable, there is one thing in this world that is constant. Thank you, number pi, and thank you.
I'm sure everyone is clapping for you, not just me, Jose. I'm sure, yes, I'm getting a lot of confirmation in the chat room. Claps,
Thank you.
applause, well put, loud claps, bravos, bravos. It's moving fast, Jose. You can see it yourself. At one point, Daniel did ask if this is all historically accurate and if he can use it in a history paper. You can address that if you would like in your rebuttal. I would say yes. I would say based on my experience. And you know, I'm a theater major, so pretty smart, just like Jose. Right?
Yes, I'd say go for it. And I'd also give this advice. C's get degrees. Trust me, I know.
There we go. Now, what I noticed in your presentation is that there's a lot of sartorial overlap between ancient Greece and 1950s Greecers, and I did not know that. So that was like an interesting little fashion tidbit for me. And so now we're going to go ahead and move on, and we are going to hear from Mitch, who is debating the food pie. So please welcome to the screen, Mitch.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Look at that. Oh, that looks so good. And let me tell you, it smells good. That crust, that caramel, those apples. Wow. Can you smell that? What am I talking about? You're all watching this on a screen somewhere, probably miles away from this delicious piece of pie. You can't smell that. But also, kind of you can, can't you? Maybe you're not literally experiencing the sensation of smell, but you've smelled a fresh baked pie before, and you're thinking about that smell. And where were you when you smelled that fresh baked pie? Probably surrounded by loved ones, probably at some sort of celebration. And who made that pie? Probably someone really important to you, maybe someone who dug deep in their personal history and culture and used all their love to create something wonderful to share. Wow, what a wonderful, calming memory this piece of pie just gave to all of us. Has math ever done that for you? You ever caught a whiff of some hot math and been transported back to a wonderful memory? And you know, the thing about pie and smell and how powerful it is has to do with the human brain being super weird. Now, I do not have a human brain to show you right now, but I am a really good artist, so I can draw one. This is a human brain. And if you think about it, technically, this is a self-portrait of my brain. Anyway, in the human brain, when you're sensing stuff, if you're looking at things or listening to things, that information gets routed to the wrinkly thinking bits at the top, various cortexes to process that information, but not with smell. Smell is different because your smell sensation goes directly to this little part in the middle called the hypothalamus, which looks kind of like, I mean, if you took it out of the brain, it would look like a weird gray booger. But really, every part of the brain out of context looks like a weird gray booger. But this particular weird gray booger right in the middle is closely associated with emotions and memories. That means when you smell a fresh baked pie, before your thinky bits can do anything like think, that smells good. Before that can happen, already all your feeling and emotion and memory neurons are firing like crazy and you're transported back to a wonderful moment. And this is something that people have known for a long time. In fact, it was the great writer Marcel Proust. And of course, we all know Marcel Proust is a French novelist, critic, and essayist born in July 1871. I personally am a great fan of Marcel Proust. I particularly like his novel, A la Recherche du Temps Perdu. Read it so many times. But in addition to writing novels and essays and criticisms, what's his name? Proust also wrote quotes on the Google results page for really good quotes about food, including this one. I carried to my lips a spoonful of tea in which I had let soften a bit of Madeleine, but at the very instant the mouthful of tea mixed with cake crumbs touched my palate, I quivered, attentive to the extraordinary thing that was happening to me. Wow, right? And what he's describing there is the experience of flavor, something we experience all the time. But flavor is more than what you taste on the tongue. It's also heavily influenced by smell, and also the texture of the food in your mouth and the sound that it makes, and even your emotional state and any memories or feelings or experiences you have connected to that food can add to the experience of flavor. So what I'm saying is, not me, what Marcel Proust, the smart guy we were talking about, is saying is, eating a piece of pie titillates every one of your senses and draws on every part of being human, and is quite simply the most wonderful experience anyone can ever have. That's Proust that said that, so can't really argue with Proust, because he's dead, so that's the end of that. Now, also, for a more modern example, if anyone has seen the movie Waitress, and if you haven't seen it, don't worry, I can recreate the scene that I want to talk about here. Okay, this is the pivotal scene. So in this scene, the titular character, Waitress, played by Kerry Russell, has baked a pie. Now, I'm not gonna go into it too much, but basically there's a lot of stuff going on in Waitress's life, a lot of things, and she's put all of her feelings, emotions, experiences into baking this pie. And what I love about this scene is that she is not acting. They just got a fresh baked pie and put it on the set. And because Kerry Russell is a human being, the experience of being near a fresh baked pie brought out all of this emotion and pathos. I mean, look at her face in this scene. That is incredible. I mean, Kerry Russell is a wonderful actor, absolutely. But come on, nobody is that good. So you're probably thinking, this is all very interesting, but what would a scientist have to say about it? Like, what if we were to ask a famous astronomer who had a TV show on PBS in the 80s? That's a great idea. And when I think of all the astronomers who had TV shows on PBS in the 80s, my favorite is probably Carl Sagan. I couldn't figure out how to draw his face, but he wore suits. And Carl Sagan, on his TV show on PBS in the 80s, once said, if you want to make an apple pie from scratch, you must first invent the universe. And when I heard that, the first thing I thought was, whoa, Carl, I'm just trying to get something together for this potluck to impress my work friends. I'm not trying to invent the universe. But then I realized what he meant. He meant for this apple pie to exist, everything that's ever happened has to have happened, and had to have happened in the right order. From the Big Bang to earlier when I went to the store and bought this pie. I mean, look at this pie. Look at it. You see that in there? Those are apples in there. Where'd those apples come from? Well, 10 to 20 million years ago, the first apple ancestors started to evolve. And at that time, fruit needed to get like bigger and more colorful to attract the megafauna of the day, like the incredible Platypelodon, which is too hard to draw. I wasn't able to draw it. I practiced earlier and I couldn't get it. But if you just imagine on this blank sheet of paper, okay, imagine an elephant. Now imagine that the elephant's snout, whatever you call that thing, the big nose, trunk, the elephant's trunk is shaped like a spoon. And that spoon opens up and it's a crazy spoon mouth prehistoric elephant. That is a Platypelodon. And no, I did not make it up. It's a real animal that was wandering parts of Africa and Asia in the Miocene era at the same time the earliest apple ancestors were evolving. So those apples, listen, if you don't believe me, you can Google it. And if you can't remember Platybelodon, just Google prehistoric spoon-faced elephant and Google will know what you mean. So these early apple ancestors had to evolve just right to entice the Platybelodon to eat them. And they had to have all the selected for traits so that the seeds would survive through the digestive system and survive in the animal's waste and make more apple trees. And then like 20 million more years happened. And who knows what happened to those apples? Probably a lot of crazy adventures, all so they could end up in this pie. And what about this crust? Look at that crust on there. How did we figure that out? It was probably the ancient Egyptians who first made pastry mixing flour and water, but then to figure out all these techniques, it had to follow the diaspora of people and ideas all over the world to come up with all of the traditions that make a modern pie crust. And baking is one of those amazing things where we've been doing it for thousands of years, but we don't fully understand what is actually happening. If you want to get into the science of what happens when a pie is prepared and baked, you better get really deep into chemistry and physics, engineering. You've got to understand caramelization, the Maillard reaction, and so much other stuff. And finally, sugar. This particular pie has a lot of sugar in it. And sugar, in this case, sucrose, is of course C12H22O11. That's carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And carbon and oxygen are only created in one place in this universe. And that place is in the fiery, turbulent center of a star. So this humble piece of pie is filled with an incredible botanical evolutionary success story, 20 million years in the making. It is encased with a testament to thousands of years of human ingenuity and experimentation and culture. And it is literally sprinkled with stardust. So I've appealed to you intellectually. Remember when we were talking about Proust earlier? And I've appealed to you emotionally, but I can tell some of you are like, we just want the facts. Just want cold, hard evidence so you make your own decisions. All right, let's do an experiment right now. On one side, we have pie. And on the other side, we have pie. Here we go. Mmm. 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 That was good. That was good. All right. Pie. I rest my case.
Okay, the applause, they're coming in. They're coming in. I want to say the chat area has been full of a very lively debate all in of itself, including a couple Wikipedia links to the dinosaur that you mentioned, the Platypelodon. I got that right? Right?
It's a mammal.
Yeah.
It's a mammal. Platybelodon. You were close enough.
It was a mammal. I was only semi-paying attention to your debate, clearly. I was reading lots of comments. I didn't hear what you said. I'm not voting. It's okay. All right. So it was very lively. I did listen to part of it. I did learn how handy the phrase "gray booger" is. I feel like you got a little shade from your brother, even on that part. Just a little bit, friendly shade, and you know that's something to consider.
He studies weird gray boogers.
Yeah. So you know,
as a career. So
there was definitely some suggestion that you are losing a lot of the math majors that have tuned in tonight. But then, you know, we had Craig, a double major in math and theater, who does not know what to do, you know? It's a really complicated issue. It's a really complicated issue. And so the rebuttal section is going to move much more quickly. We're going to do a short little round of rebuttals. And so to start off, I'm going to hand it on back to Jose. Take it away.
Thank you. That was a very spirited debate, Mitch. I appreciate the effort you put in. You are a really good artist. I was stunned by that expression. It was very, very good. But I think some of your points upon careful scientific scrutiny, they kind of fall apart a little bit. Because I think it's a little hubristic to say that the universe was created specifically so that you can have pie. That's a very non-scientific idea. And everything's made out of star stuff. That's, you are, the pie, the cabinets behind you, the stuff on my wall, all of that matter comes from the inside of stars. So picking something that people like to eat and saying that this is the end result of a universe specifically for you is not the best argument, in my opinion. Also, mathematics is the language of the universe. We can understand chemistry, we can understand baking, we can understand physics because of mathematics. And pi is essential to so many calculations across so many disciplines. Pi, mathematics, is a fundamental relationship of how things operate in the universe. That ratio of circumference to diameter is helpful for calculating things like gravitational attraction. We can use it to try and figure out the electron shells of individual atoms. It can be used to make sure that your tires work well and give you good gas mileage on your car. So this number isn't just something that you sit down and explain. It is part of the fundamental fabric of the universe. So take that, put that on your apple pie and smoke it. Also, I'll say this, pie is kind of the worst dessert. I mean, especially apple pie, if it's fresh, if you get that last slice of pie, all the insides run out. You just get 2 pieces of crust with like a little bit of apple in there. There are better things that you can bake, like cakes, cookies, things people like. Pie is so bad that at restaurants they have to give you a scoop of ice cream just so you'll eat it. A la mode? Come on, you know what I'm saying. Yeah, I rest my case.
I'm back. Jose, thank you. A lot of support I saw coming in for you and your facts. I heard some facts in there. Also, just, to kind of like even things out, Mitch's brother did pop back in to say that you can only do math if you eat food, like pie. So, you can't argue with the fact that you have to be alive to do math. You could argue it, but will you? You can't, because you're done. Up next with the final rebuttal.
All right, I'm getting, my internet connection is unstable. Can anyone hear me? You can, great. Okay, wonderful. So the first thing that I would say is, just in defense of pie, sweet pies like this, dessert pies, are actually relatively new. In the grand history of pie, I mentioned earlier before the debate started that I read most of the introduction to a book on the history of pie, which is how I know this. That most of the history of pie, savory pies were the thing, meat pies and vegetable pies. And in some places, like Australia, there are breakfast pies and lunch pies and dinner pies and then dessert pies. People will eat pie for every meal. And some of those people have friends who are koalas. So I don't know what you're doing in your life that's so great that you're looking down on them. Also, I didn't mean that the entire universe had created this pie for me. I just meant that this pie is the result of every happenstance random thing that had happened up to this point. Now, about math pie. Math, you say, is the language of the universe, but really it's an abstraction that we use to understand the universe. It's a way we boil down the things that are really happening into a form that we can put on a paper and put into calculators. But there are also real experiences. That experience of flavor, that extraordinary moment that Marcel Proust described when he wrote in French, when he wrote that in France probably, he was talking about something real that you can't describe, you can't abstract, you can only experience it. And there's another thing that pie can do that math pie cannot do, and that is comedy. I have here a cream pie, one of the greatest artifacts of comedy ever created. You know, if you're watching a cartoon or like an old movie and a pie like this appears, it's about to get funny. Now, if we were doing this in real life, I would walk over to Jose and smash it in his face because that would be funny for me. But he's way across town. Luckily, there is another face in my house. Honey, can you come here for a minute?
Oh. Hey, honey.
Hey, okay, stand right here.
Right here?
This
Okay.
is gonna be so funny. Okay. No, no, it's not funny. It's not funny when you do it to me because they all respect me so much.
That was funny.
Wow. Okay. We do respect you. I feel like that was a sad waste of a beautiful pie, especially after everyone in the chat is expressing how hungry they are, talking about what kind of pies they like. But I appreciate the commitment. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And now, everybody, we have to admit it's going to be a tough decision, but the answer to the question, which is better, pie or pie, is now in your hands. So a poll is about to pop up on your screen, and when it does, you vote away. And you remember that voting is an important responsibility, and you choose wisely. And while you are voting, I am going to play this animal-shaped clay instrument that my mother made to entertain you, and Mitch and Jose can dance as though I am playing something actually catchy, which I am not. Yeah, you can tell I wasn't playing something. There they go. Great, and we're going to close down voting in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I don't know who counts down ending up with their pinky finger, but I just did. All right, and I'm going to get the results coming in. They are not, of course, coming into an earpiece because I am not wearing one, but I do have just some pieces of paper with random things on it, and that is also not where the results are coming in. The results are going to pop up on my screen. I see. Yes. Okay. The votes are in. They are tallied. Tonight, the winner is pie. And as you can see, this pie is the one, not just any pie. So congratulations, Mitch. Congratulations. A quick hand from everybody, I'm sure. We are celebrating the food pie tonight. It was close. It was a close battle, but we're getting a lot of good congratulations from everybody in the chat. Thank you so much to the Denver Museum of Nature and Science for hosting this event tonight. Both the museum and Buntport are so excited to do live events in the future when it is safe for us to do so. In the meantime, we hope that you will catch entertainment from both of us via our social media pages. And of course, if you would like to donate to either or both organizations, you head on over to our website. Thank you so much for watching this debate that originally aired live on Zoom on Tuesday, May 19th, 2020. Maybe you agreed with the live audience, maybe you didn't. You can still have your voice heard and sway the outcome. So if you joined us on Facebook, you can vote by hitting the surprise react for Jose or the laugh react for Mitch. And if you are on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment below, or you can tweet us your vote with either hashtag #numberpie or hashtag #foodpie. And please tag the museum and or Buntport so that we are sure to see it. Voting matters. Thank you again for watching.